to say the same thing using 2 words instead of 1 word. I think George Carlin had a bit about that, like with
post-traumatic stress disorder.
Post-traumatic stress disorder. It always gets more words and more syllables because it's just trying to like throw you off this trail of what it is.
Shell shock, battle fatigue, and then something else, and post-traumatic stress disorder. Oh, another similar illegal aliens, illegal immigrants, undocumented immigrants, undocumented migrants, irregular migrants.
I liked when for a while it was just dreamers. They were just dreamers. They're just people
No.
dreams.
Dreamers refers to a specific subtype of.
I know. I always just loved that term because it's like it's one of those classic things of those like very manipulative terms.
Like, I like the Democrats
these people
this,
have dreams, not like you guys. You guys are basically robots, but these are real people. They have dreams, you know.
Yeah, the one thing I do get out of this is that as Democrats do this more, it becomes easier and easier to hide the fact that I'm a psychopath, because I get to say things like I'm opposed to the Equality Act, and it just, 20 years ago, that might have turned heads, but now most like Republicans, even mainstream Republicans, have gotten to the point where it's like, yeah, I'm opposed to the Sunshine and Lollipops bill.
Yeah,
like I'm actually opposed to the free whatever. It's like, no, you're packing in some crazy shit here. And even boomers have gotten to the point where they don't fall for this.
Anyway, what is the purpose of this article? An article where Time correctly admits that they rig not them, but I mean that there's I think they even use the words like shadowy cabal, but
yes,
they definitely use the word cabal of behind the scenes that include giant corporate interests. And
I'll read it. That's why the participants want the secret history of the 2020 election told, even though it sounds like a paranoid fever dream. A well-funded cabal of powerful people raging across industries and ideologies, working together behind the scenes to influence perceptions, change rules and laws, steer media coverage, and control the flow of information. They weren't rigging the election, they were fortifying it. And they believe the public needs to understand the system's fragility in order to ensure that democracy in America endures. Thank God America's biggest corporations and its security services work together to control the flow of information. Otherwise, we might have fallen prey to fascism.
Yeah. So the debate is what is the purpose of this Time article? And some people, one camp, came out and said they thought that the purpose of this Time article was to demoralize us. It was to rub our faces in it and say, we stole the election and you can't stop us. We're in control. Ha, ha, ha. What do you think about that? Because I took the other side. I could explain what the other side was, but what do you think? Okay, just give me a short, does that sound plausible to you?
No, I think what it was is that they were essentially trying to poison the well. They were sort of they wrote out their own confession and made it sound good so that, in case any disgruntled Republicans, maybe someone who works at Daily Wire or whatever, to stop any attempt at whistleblowing, right? It may have been the case that maybe Tucker or someone might have run with basically this story exactly as written, right? But made it sound super bad, because it is super bad. And then liberals would have had to sort of answer it, right? But now Time Magazine has stopped their audience from having to answer it, because instead of having to sort of independently think to themselves, like, wow, that's really bad, let me have to suffer the dissonance of saying, well, they were just trying to fortify the election. I think I talked about this. I do have a relative who told me before the inauguration, well, even if they did rig it, wasn't that good so that we could properly deal with COVID, right? Now, most people would feel something before they let that come out of their mouth. This person did it. And so this Time Magazine article was sort of to say it for them, right? So that if Tucker were to say, hey, all these people collaborated, all the left can say, oh yeah, we read the Time Magazine article about it. That's actually good, right? And we know it's good, and I don't feel bad saying it because Time Magazine said it, right? I'm not thinking this evil thought alone, therefore it must be a good thought.
That's a good one.
What was the other? What was your view? What was the other majority?
This is the stupid or evil thing. That one kind of, I think, is a more realistic version of the evil take. So I think that's actually a better version of the conspiracy argument, because the idea that they would do it just to demoralize us, I just think it's too over the top.
No, it's to inoculate liberals.
The idea that they would do it as a limited hangout to just get in front of the story, so that way if some guy comes forward to say, I, actually worked on one of these teams where we, helped coordinate it with Google or whatever, and he decides to whistleblow to Tucker, they can say, yeah, that's not a whistleblow. That was always a thing. Yeah, we said that. And take the wind out of it. And then it's not a leak. It's just like an old story. That take, I think, is a lot better. And now he probably on that side. The other side of it was that these people, to some degree, are so drunk on their own Kool-Aid that to them, they're not rubbing our nose in anything. To them, they go, yeah, this is what happened. We saved everybody, and you're so welcome. And no, it wasn't a conspiracy, because conspiracies are bad, and this was good. And, we actually stopped the conspiracy. The conspiracy would have been if all of these Trump voters got together in a conspiracy to elect him as president. That would have been
it's the real conspiracy, the Republican Party.
Yeah, exactly. So that they actually would read that, and I think a lot of them, I think this is true, a lot of them would read that and not say, if you said, even your version of that, they would say, no, they didn't admit to anything. They just told the truth about what great heroes they are and how they did all the right things. And they don't actually see how someone could read that and have a bad opinion of it.
I mean, this whole article is something. I mean, it circulated pretty heavily in our circles. I don't think there's anybody listening that hasn't read it. But in the this is really for future listeners. Although, God, imagine if future listeners actually listen to this shit. They should know that yes, Time Magazine ran this article. I know that when I have kids and I'm homeschooling them, because I'm not going to send them to a public school, like this article will feature heavily in their education, right? When I write up the stuff on 2016 to 2020. God, can you really think about? I remember, like a year ago, like before COVID, obviously, when AOC was saying that stopping climate, like we need a Green New Deal, and stopping climate change is sort of the World War II of our generation. And I think actually COVID is the World War II of our generation, right? We all had to suffer through some tragedy together, and da-da-da-da. And God, I think about everybody who was born from 2004 to 2011. These people, when they reach adulthood, it's going to be something intense, because this will be life-defining. I mean, the whole Trump presidency, and they're going to teach their kids about it. I want to know the people who are 5 years old or 10 years old right now, in 20 years, what will they be telling their kids about the COVID lockdown? Right? I mean,
it'll be awful. It'll be awful.
It's hard to know, you
realize there were people in my grandparents' generation who, no matter how badly they were fucked by FDR for 10 years, they still look back at that as like, he was basically just there helping us all, and oh God, it would have been bad if it wasn't for him.
Yeah, the great uniter.
And they all think that. They all think that.
Like, I know Gen Z is like
all think that.
Like, Dan, I'm 25 and you are 29. You're also a millennial, yeah, right?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure you're not Gen X, that's for sure.
I don't know. I don't know what these categories, where the cutoffs are.
What year were you born, Dan?
1991.
Yeah, you're still firmly a millennial. Generation Z are far more right-wing than millennials are, like by a lot. Okay, apparently the people born in 2010 and afterward are Generation Alpha. That's weird.
That doesn't seem right.
Whatever. I'll take it. Point is, I want to know, and you can't know, like, the political trajectory of these kids until high school, at least. Right? Like, we know what Generation Z is like because we see, like, a TikTok culture. Oh, man. I got to talk about Helen Keller. So Gen Z has been popping out like these really amazing. I mean, Generation Z basically gave us Nick Fuentes, so that's, I think, a sign of things to come. But Gen Z has been pushing the meme that Helen Keller was fake. We can talk about that later. I can talk about it now. And now they're pushing this meme of being super straight. Do you know what it is to be super straight? Take a guess.
No.
If I tell you there's a right-wing meme going out right now, created by people who are, so I'm 25, who are like 4 years younger than me, right? Don't look it up. Just guess. What does super straight mean?
Okay. Oh, God. Super straight?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm bad at guessing things.
Super straight is a sexual identity that is allegedly meant to fall in the LGBT spectrum, identifying somebody who is so straight that they are only attracted to people who were assigned female at birth.
I don't even get that. What?
As in, they're not attracted to people who are transgender or non-binary or whatever.
Oh, so it means just being straight.
No. Because you see, if you're straight, trans women are real women, non-binary. What about these XXYs? What is a woman? What is gender? What is this, that? Okay. So fine. And they're retreating from the word straight. They're retreating from heterosexuality into this new gender identity, this new sexual identity, rather. This is the kind of memes that Gen Z... Have you heard about Helen Keller is fake? Have you heard of this? Like, Zoomers are like, why do we believe this story? This sound a little bit silly? Like you're running cover for...
thought make a lot more sense that she was probably just sort of a trained monkey being exploited by this teacher. That was my immediate reaction. Was like, oh, this instantly made more sense to me than the original version. And if something makes more sense to me,
you should naturally believe it.
Yes.
Like, but the fact is, like, since we know, like, I'm sure Helen Keller was indeed really a socialist, right? Because I've heard her speak, and she talks about, like, the need for equality, and she, like, got into, supposedly, right, she got into exchanges with people who, supported her when she was doing... Like, I don't think Helen Keller was, like, locked in, right? Like, if we know she can communicate with the outside world, I mean, surely somebody must have asked her, hey, why did you go from doing, disabled rights to doing socialist stuff? And it's not like she responded, I've been saying socialist stuff, right? Because she could do sign language like everybody else. So
could she?
What?
Could she?
She could do sign language, yeah.
You say so.
I mean, you could see her doing it.
I don't know where I could see this, but go on.
Okay. Just you can look up a video on YouTube of Helen Keller speaking. All right, it's there.
What, am I supposed to quit my job?
So we know Helen Keller, we know for sure that Helen Keller, A, was a real person. We know that she really was deafblind, and we know that she was capable of, like, she sure was a socialist, because when she was asked about socialism, she didn't respond with total confusion. Right. So the real question is, like, did she really write 27 books? Which, again, should strike. Did Murray Rothbard even write 27 books?
He did.
Okay, so, are we really saying that Helen Keller...
In his lifetime? I'm not sure, actually.
Yeah. Are we sure that some blind deaf socialist really churned out more books than Murray Rothbard did?
Has anyone ever read any of those books, though?
Nobody reads those books.
So, like, maybe they're like Michael Knowles' book about reasons to vote for Democrats.
Why you should be a socialist, yeah, something like that.
It's just like a bunch of blank pages, or there's just random bumps on them.
So anyway, so Zoomers, very right-wing.
30 full-length books is how many books that Rothbard wrote.
Okay, and Helen Keller...
plus 100 book chapters, a conservatively estimated 1,000 or so scholarly articles. This is according to Jeff Dice's recent...
Oh yeah, it's been Rothbard week. Okay, boom.
It's been Rothbard week at Mises Institute, as opposed to... It's a little like saying it's Black History Week at, Spike Lee's house.
So we'll get to Rothbard week first. So Zoomers, really right-wing, and I don't know what's going to happen with Generation Alpha. God, could you imagine being Generation Beta?
Ugh.
Well, you know what? It might be okay, because by the time they're growing up...
I don't know, Marcel. You tell me. How is it?
I think by the time Generation Beta is growing up, like the sort of millennial... Like, that'll just be a weird millennial meme. It'll be something old people laugh at, right? I'll be... I think by that time I'll be in my... 25. So by the time they're, like, existing, I'll be in my late 60s or so. And, like, me and the other 60-year-old right-wingers will be like, ha, Generation Beta. And they'd be like, why is that so funny? And then we'll have to be like, see, when we were growing up, there were these really old movies called The